So I'm gonna do a little segue because somebody asked the question, you mean 100% power or 100% everything?
Yeah.
Okay, so 100% power is the easy lift,
Yeah, I know.
okay?
But even that we're failing at miserably.
Even 100% transportation is doable, okay? Because you can make it all electric, right?
Right. Those are the first two easy ones.
Now, you also asked, well, what about residential?
I know. That's
Okay.
hard.
So one of the missing pieces here is this session that we're going to be talking about right now, which is geothermal energy. And I want to thank the presenter, Bill Sinton, for jumping in at the 11th hour and saving my tail, because I was going to have to present on this subject, which I know very little about.
All right, well, it's a small class. It should be easy. No intimidation. My name is William Sinton. I go by Billy. And I'm the president and owner of Sinton Air Conditioning and Heating, or in Kennisburg, PA. Been in the HVAC business my entire life, was born into it. So there's my small resume. I don't have a PhD or an ME or a PE after my name. I am an International Ground Source Heat Pump Association accredited installer. I'm also a certified geothermal designer. Water Furnace, which is a manufacturer, I'm directed as a GeoPro there. I've been a member of the American Society of Heat and Refrigeration Air Conditioning Engineers for 20 plus years. And I'm also in a group similar to this. I sit on the advisory board of the Chester County Economic Development Council Smart Energy Initiative in the Geothermal Working Group. I'm also a retired U.S. Army aviator, so I spent 23 years flying for the National Guard and I'm a Black Hawk pilot, or was. And I was honored to be able to give tours of Baghdad and Tikrit and Mosul and Kirkuk in 2004 and 2005 for a year. So that's on my resume as well. Anyway, I originally set up this PowerPoint presentation when I was doing a STEM presentation, then a presentation at Penn State's Great Valley campus for residences and persons in the facility directing agencies of commercial operations. So it's basically a geothermal 101, get to know it, what it is, what it isn't. So what is geothermal? If anyone knows anything about a heat pump just takes energy from the outdoor air and transfers it into a house, and people have been complaining for decades that they're inefficient, they're cold, they're nasty, they're not comfortable, and that has all to do with the relationship of how much energy you can take out of the outdoor air and bring it into a home. Ground source heat pumps, which is the geothermal heat pump, it's always working with an outdoor ambient temperature of the ground, which is, in this region, 52 degrees. That's the nominal temperature. It's never warmer at 11 feet and below, and it's never cooler. That's where it is in this area, 52 degrees. It's not hard to take energy out of something. A lot of people look at me sometimes and ask, well, how far down do we have to drill to get to the warm earth? And I'm like, well, 11 feet. You only have to go down 11 feet. And what you're looking for is not warm earth, you're looking for constant temperature earth. So the analogy that often, and again, doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman of a house or owner of a business, and they say, well, how am I going to get warm out of 52 degree heat? And my quickest answer to that is, go shopping, get a gallon of ice cream, leave it in your car for an hour, bring it home, it's soft, you're going to put it in the freezer to do what to it? People have said, make it cold again. No, you're not going to make it cold. What you're doing is the freezer is going to take the heat out of it. Everything in our industry, everybody talks about heat and cold. Technically, there's such thing as cold or cool. It's all different levels of heat. Anytime you have any medium that is cooler than another medium, the warmer medium is going to transfer its energy to the cooler. Never the other way around. That's why they call these things heat pumps, because oftentimes we're taking heat out of a cooler substance and putting it into a warmer substance. That's why that's where we got the nickname heat pump, because you're pumping heat in the opposite direction of the natural laws of physics. So That's what a heat pump is, and a geothermal system is not using the outdoor ambient air as normal air-to-air heat pumps do in the wintertime when it may be 35, 25, 20 degrees outside. It could be 5 degrees outside here, the ground is still 52. You can pull a lot of energy out of 52-degree earth, and when you put enough pipe down into it, you're talking about tens of thousands of tons of earth that you're pulling the heat out of. That was warmed up every summer when the sun came up. You know, it is renewable energy because we are not using the source of heat from the core of the earth. We're using the upper crust heat, which is generated by the sun every 12-hour period. If anybody wants to see a cool video, write that down. Just go to geothermalsmart.com, and you don't have to write that whole thing down. And I can go back to it if you want. When I did the previous things, it was already set up. It's a video I did 10 years ago, and I was still flying for the military, so I had to yeah. Actually,
Oh, that's yours.
quickest way is geothermalsmart.com. If you go to that, it goes directly to the pull-down version of our website, and you can go to the video. So it's we interviewed residential clients that we just put systems in for. Then we interviewed the facility director of Westchester University, whom to this date have put in like 900 tons of geothermal. Then we interviewed my local state representative in the Kennett area, he was a state rep, not federal, and we have 4 geothermal systems in his house. So that is basically what is done on a daily basis in this region. You have a house, we drill down multiple bores, and we put pipe in it, and we pump a fluid through it and bring it back into the house. So if we put down the fluid and it's colder than 52, it's going to pick up heat. That's what we do for the heating season. In the summer season, it just does just the inverse. It rejects the energy into the earth. So when you air condition your house, you're not cooling the air. You're taking heat out of the air and you're rejecting it into the earth. And then in the wintertime, that energy is still there. Most of it, there's a bunch of things that transpire there, thermal diffusivity and all. And you're taking the energy back out again that you dumped into it. So it's just like dumping water into a pool and then pulling it back out again when you need it later.
So how many bores do you have for a house? Like how many?
All predicated on the size of the house. Very small little bungalow, we can do a vertical bore, single. Most houses around here, we do 3, 4, 5, 6, especially around.
And that's in the basement?
No, this is outside, just like you see, it's out in the yard.
Well, I know those things go out,
And
but
the pipes come back into the
the
basement wall.
pipes come back in.
Yeah.
So it's in the yard.
Yeah, and you don't see it. There's nothing within 4 feet of the surface of the earth outside.
Are they always the same depth if you?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's all predicated on lineal feet. And lineal feet is the computer modeling software that we use that will dictate just how many total lineal feet we'll need for the building, whatever it is. Be it a small house, big house, huge house, or a building or a business or whatever. It's all done on computer modeling with engineering software.
So you can't put it under like driveways or
Put
something.
it under anything.
You can put it under anything.
We've had clients up on the main line here who really, really wanted a geothermal system, and they had fountains and pools and beautiful yards and manicured landscape, and I said, well, I can't. I'm going to dig up your yard. Well, you're not going to dig up my yard. I said, well, what do you want? He goes, what about my driveway? I'm like, oh, we could go right down your driveway. He goes, do it. And we just drilled every 15, 20 feet right down the driveway until we had enough vertical bore in the ground, and then he redid his driveway. Never to be seen again. The pipes are never to be seen again.
Really, they don't break or they don't need maintenance or?
This is high density polyethylene pipe. It's a very, very, if you've ever watched them doing the transcontinental or even the local gas lines and mains they put in, you see the big yellow pipe hanging on the side of the street before they bury it. That's high density polyethylene. We use the exact same pipe, except it's black. It's just conversion for source of product. You bury it in the ground, you can run over it with a bulldozer, it has a molecular memory, it comes back to its natural state. I always tell people this, we have thousands of miles of pipe on the ground, we have no leaks.
What about tree roots?
It's not gonna mess with high density polyethylene. It's
Not
not hard to fix your
necessarily.
yard,
Your yard?
it's not hard, people do it every day. And I just tell people, look, your yard and the size, say if you have a modern house, 2,200, 2,800 square feet or 3,000 square feet, we're gonna destroy an area the size of this room, maybe a little bit bigger. Make a lot of mud. When we're all done, it's just gonna be a lot of mud. A little sweat equity, a couple of wheelbarrows, some rakes, some friends, or some people just say, I'm not touching it, and I come back a week later and it's perfect grass like Longwood Gardens is what my analogy is, because that's what I live out next to Longwood. Because they sod it, they had someone come in and sod it. So anyway, all the pipe goes under the ground, you're never gonna see it again. It'll be there for 1,000 years, nothing's gonna happen to it unless we have an earthquake of like 8.0. It's gonna be last year's worries if we got an earthquake like that. So this is what it is not. That's Old Faithful, that's Yosemite. That is hydrogeothermal, that's natural, high temperature, high pressure, energy, being generated by magma getting
Iceland.
close.
Yeah,
All of Iceland, the entirety of Iceland is powered and heated by hydrogeothermal.
I know, it's fabulous.
So that's what it is. There is a large, commercial building, field, that's a new building that's being built, like a school or something. That, this is off of my International Ground Source Heat Pump System. I didn't do this project. But if it's a large commercial building, federal or institutional, this is the kind of site you would see. And they'll be out there for, weeks and months, and then all that piping goes in the ground vertically. We usually stop just prior to 500 feet going vertically. We don't go past 500, it has to do with pressure parameters of the piping. It has nothing to do with, we can't drill deeper than that, we can. And there is, it's not the easiest thing to see, but all those white pipes coming up out of the ground are just the sleeves in the borehole to keep it from collapsing. The black pipes that you see, just their tail sticking out, eventually that's all going to get trenched together. All those pipes are going to be put together 4 feet down and then manifolded constantly to larger pipes, and the big pipes are going to come in the building. Horizontal loops work just as well as vertical loops,
Okay.
but you have to compensate for the earth temperature, because the horizontal loops, you're not going to go down 11 feet.
Right,
You could, but now you're going to get an excavator in. Now you have to deal with OSHA, because anything over 60 inches you have to, border up the walls before you can get a person in a ditch over 60 inches. So everything's done at 5 feet, 4 to 5 feet. You just have to compensate because the earth isn't 52 there. In the wintertime, it may be 44 or 42, closer to the surface. Once you get 11 feet down, it's constant 52. You don't have to worry about anything about the transient temperatures in the wintertime.
okay.
So that's what they're gonna look like. Now, if that was your front yard, you would have 2 of those or 3 of them, something like that, with a nominal house around here. There's a house that's very common. The fellow that was going to come here and possibly do this presentation, that was his drill rig. I designed, engineered everything all the way through the installation. I just used drillers to drill the holes, because we're not getting in the drilling business. That's a whole different animal to itself. But I don't let anyone design our systems rule of thumb or guesswork. Everything we do is properly using the practical engineering processes for figuring out how many feet. That's at the end. Somebody asked me that question, why? So there's that house. There's the system. There's the water tanks. It also heats your water. And there's a different view of that same system. It's like we take the furnace or the heat pump out of your house and you put in that big box, and that's it. And the 2 pipes coming down the wall, you see that little thing, it's called a pump flow center. It's what's creating the flow from the unit to all the ground loops in the earth.
So is it hot air or is it
It's hot air. Most systems that we do are hot air, just like a furnace.
forced hot air?
Right, forced hot air. And it does all your air conditioning as well. So it does your air conditioning, all your heat, and supplements 65 to 80% of your hot water. Meaning it will create hot water while it's running during air conditioning and heating mode, but not solely on demand in between. So in the shoulder months, in the spring and the fall, if you're not heating or cooling, you still have to rely on your existing hot water source to create all your hot water. It just supplements it at a extremely high efficiency capability, so why not let it heat as much as it can while it's running? Because a geothermal unit works at an efficiency rating, to put it in real numbers, like 400 to 500% more efficient than electric.
Well,
So-
I thought geothermal had usually the heating in the floors and, no, they don't do that?
That's radiant floor heat.
Yeah, they don't, this isn't, does it lend itself to that?
Anything can use radiant floor heat.
Right.
You can use a boiler, you can add gas, natural gas,
But you
LP
guys
gas,
don't
oil,
usually take-
electric,
Yeah.
and you can use geothermal as well. It's
Okay.
one of our best applications because radiant floor heat is a low temperature, low intensity heat. This was one of our really cool pet projects because I made the front cover of, it was called, it wasn't This Old House out of Boston, it was This Old House magazine. I mean, it was like almost the exact same name as that in North Carolina, but we made the front page because we did this house in Westchester for a doctor and his wife. And it was a 1918 French Norman mansion. And it was pretty cool because he was burning somewhere between 400 to 500 gallons a month from the previous system, oil. And there was no way to get natural gas, it wasn't a consideration. So we replaced all the systems in the house. We put in 3 separate geothermal systems.
Now,
5
do
different
these
zones.
work when the power goes out or not?
Not unless you have a generator.
Not unless you have a generator.
They are electrically driven.
They are electrically driven, okay.
So those guys putting it in, and there's the front of the house.
Your gas.
The why I took this picture because I thought it was really cool because it was the first house I ever did. It actually had a gargoyle, and it did look out of place in that house. You know, people put up funny
Yeah.
little figurines, but it was like a flying monkey. It was pretty eerie because I remember sitting in my mom's lap.
So how much square feet of pipes did you have to do for this, like?
Lineal feet of pipe there? I think 2,400 to 2,800.
Was it normal
Lineal
house,
feet, so-
typical house?
Over 4,000 feet of pipe, because that's just the bore, but there's pipe down it and back up again, so you double it. So almost a mile of pipe in the ground for that house.
Cool.
So, again, obviously, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna put some of my, nicer projects, just, the house, that previous house, the colonial house with the drill up in the yard, 400 or 500 of those I've done, I don't know. But these ones, this was a DuPont homestead that was built in 1941. Believe it or not, with air conditioning ductwork, engineered. I engineered the whole house for a week, and I found that every piece of ductwork in the house I could reuse. Because a house like that is normally, this was steam, but it was steam hot air. They had steam radiators in the ductwork to distribute air, and they had 5 major big air handlers all throughout the house. So that was almost 14,000 square feet, that house. And there's their front yard. We put in 12 vertical bores. And because they didn't want to see it, the yard up in front of the house, you can't see it, but there's a wall behind that truck that I'm standing in front of. And that wall was about 55 feet from the house, and above it, that level of the yard was up another 7, 8 feet. And it was beautiful gardens. So we drilled all the wells down here where I'm standing. Then we used a horizontal boring bit. I drilled from there all the way into the basement. You can't see that.
Yes, did you say they had steam heat originally
Yes.
and it was air and it pushed air through? Well, did you still use the steam system?
No, we completely eradicated the entire steam system.
You took it out or did you just,
Removed it in its entirety. All the radiators, all the piping, the boiler, and there was another reason for that, because the lady that owns this house is in her mid-80s. She has 6 children, ranging in age from late 60s down to late 40s.
but you used the air distribution ducts?
Just the ducts.
Okay.
All the air handlers, everything came out. Everything was 1941. But the kids don't want this house, and it has 85 acres and has a 4-acre lake in the front, which I personally wanted to use because you don't have to drill. A deep lake is another heat sink, and everything is right there. You can just drop coils in the lake.
Wow,
And,
Yeah,
it's,
how deep do you have to go? 'Cause
you want to be 8 to 10 feet minimum. Is where you want to be.
wow. Why didn't they wanna do that?
Because if they sell the property in the future, it's probably going to get subdivided, and they don't want to have the source of all the energy for that big house weighted, because the lake is 300 yards down the hill.
So, this morning I was listening, to Wait, Don't Tell Me, and they were interviewing the guy who's doing about the crazy rich people.
Crazy Rich Asians, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I got so depressed about these planes with yoga studios and et
Yes.
cetera, et cetera. Okay, and I'm thinking, here we are, I don't think the crazy rich people are here today, but
I'm not one of them either.
well, so I was like, how do I get motivated? I finally got going. Okay. I'm hoping you're gonna tell me that it is the crazy rich people on the main line that are some of your, are they a majority of your customers?
You know what? I can't figure out who they are because
Okay.
honestly, this is being recorded, right?
Oh.
Some of the crazy rich, you would say, I've been turned down cold because they've looked at their bottom line and they just want to, where their return on investment is, where their break-even point is,
Yeah.
and if it's 1 year shy of where they want it to be, they're like, no, you're out. I'm putting a new boiler in, a new gas furnace, a new air-to-air heat pump, I don't care. And other people look at it and say, you know, this is quite an expense, but you know, it totally makes sense. Because literally, if I did your house, let's say even nominal, respectable house, and I don't advertise and we don't market this, but if you put a system in, it would be like you planting an acre of trees, if not more. Alright, people ask me about that stuff sometimes, I'm like, you know what, I think
I do the data crunching. Yeah.
I think I've planted the entire county of Chester County, you know, how many, and then because the computer modeling I do also on the load calculations, it shows what the carbon, tons of carbon reduction is.
Right.
So a nominal house that's burning oil or gas is going to be around 12, 13, 14 tons a year, and, you know, this is running off of electricity, but it's running off electricity that's being generated by a much more efficient system, and what's putting electricity on
The carbon in the electricity is going down
right.
all the time, right? Or it's getting, the carbon intensity is coming down.
Right, so the electrical distribution network, the grid, is the word I was looking for. The grid, you know, everything is supplying the grid. There is still some coal on the grid, but it's mainly gas, natural gas, oil, and a lot of wind and solar. They're all, you know, they're all putting their energy onto the grid, and where you buy it from is your choice.
Right.
And I can share some
Well, I was gonna
numbers
say
later.
that you can buy 100% new,
Right.
with a phone call.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, 100% of the whole thing.
So, again, I showed those houses because, you know, it's to me, doing a house like that is like doing 6 houses. You know, we put 6 geothermal
Sure.
systems in that one house. And, you know, for, you know, our mechanical engineering portion of what we do, we're proud of that stuff. The bread and butter houses, they are my bread and butter. The, you know, 2,200 square foot to 3,800 square foot homes, do them every day. I mean, they are our bread and butter. There are people that are gonna see the fastest and the quickest return on investment. They're the ones, if they're burning LP gas or an air-to-air heat pump or oil, I mean, their return on investment and their break-even point, if their system was old and is gonna be replaced anyway, is within 6 or 7 years. They're going to get put it this way, they're gonna be printing money after the 6 or 7 years versus what they would have been doing if they stayed with the standard fossil fuel type system. Yes, sir.
We have an oil burner and forced hot air.
Mhm.
Now, so the burner comes on and it heats up the air, and then the thermostat starts to and blows air. Now, this, I guess, doesn't get to that kind of temperature extreme, does it? Like, how would that work?
Oil hot air burns, you have around a 50, 60 degree temperature rise. So if it's 70 degrees, it's coming out around 120. We're a 30 degree, 40 degree temperature rise. So I take that back, we're at 40.
I'm just running, so I mean, it would
So if
kind
you
of
were-
run longer probably to make it different, or not necessarily. I mean, how much, go ahead, explain.
You just have a lower temperature rise, but
Yeah,
temperature versus volume is total BTU. So if you move more air at a lower temperature rise, you get the same amount of heat. But that's what also makes geothermal systems a lot more comfortable than
Well, that's what I was gonna
conventional
say, it would-
heating
yeah,
oil
it would-
systems.
it would
Because
tend
they
to
run
balance
longer,
out, yeah,
And
instead
they're
of,
using a lot less, it's the,
I'm just
analogy of, flooring your car from stop sign to stop sign to stop sign.
What kind of exchange, there's just like to replace the oil burner, there would be like an exchange, a heat exchanger
Your
from the hot
furnace,
water?
as you see it right now, look up that picture, see
Yes.
this entire box right here?
Mhm.
This entire box right here would completely
Replace
replace
the
your
oil.
oil furnace. Okay, so back to there. And I think we got to, there's where we started. There's where we started drilling. Now, see those holes, those pipes coming out of the ground? Same as that previous picture. Now,
Okay.
you can see them over there, they're there. So there's 12 of those. We drilled 12 of those in this house. Those pipes going out to the field when they left the house were 3 inches in diameter. Then it reduced and reduced and reduced as they attached to all the pipes on the ground. There's the initial pipes coming through the wall. There's the 3-inch pipes, and they all get manifolded together. And I'm putting the next slide up because one of my college graduate sons, who I thought I would send him off to Penn State to go do his own thing, after 4 years came back and said, I want to work for you, Dad. And it turns out he not only has my mechanical aptitude, but he's even more anal at it than me, because the guy started complaining that he would put a level on a job site to make sure the other guy's levels were level. So you see that wall? This is what he did with very little guidance from me. He did that. He created all. He put all that together. That's all the piping, the supply and returns to 6 different geothermal systems. So we had a company come in and insulate all the pipes after we put them all in, but he did one heck of a job. And again, there's another picture of this is that house that has 6 systems. Here's 3 of them right here. But again, a nominal house around here would have one of those systems. And that it just takes place in the entire heating and cooling system, and also again generates 65 to 80% of your hot water. So next thing I said is, so what does this all mean? A lot of people want to do that. I created this chart a few years back, and I just updated it a little bit. There are so many smoke and mirrors in our industry, as far as cost, operation, even in, again, I didn't sit through the solar thing, because I've been through so many solar classes in my life. So what I decided to do one day, I'm like, I'm not going to compare efficiency of gas to oil, to LP gas, to electric, to air-to-air heat pump, to geothermal heat pump. I'm just going to say, okay, give me $1. Just give me $1. And I will give you how much heat you can get net for that $1. So that's what I did. I created that graph. So comparison, oil. Gallon of oil, current cost. I got this from the U.S. Energy Information Administration yesterday. I updated it. So the average of Pennsylvania oil right now, sir, I don't know what you're paying for oil, but what the U.S. Energy Information Administration said is $3.04 a gallon. So if I buy $1 worth, I only get 0.329 gallons. There's 139,400 BTUs a gallon. And that's the gross BTU I will get out of $1 worth of oil. And an oil furnace, depending on how old or how new your oil furnace is, even if it's brand spanking new, you're not going to get any more than 80% efficiency out of an oil furnace. So 80% times that, there's how many BTUs you get. And I went right across the board. Next one was LP gas. You can see it's the worst. People often buy LP gas that go out in the rural areas because it's still gas and it's sold under the guise that it is the same as natural gas, except you don't have the main. They try to sell it as that, but it's not anything like natural gas other than it is in a gaseous state. But it comes in a liquid form, comes in liquid gallons, and there's only 92,000 or 91,500 BTU of energy in a gallon of LP gas when there's almost 140,000 in oil. So that's the difference. Even though I can burn gas at 90%, even 95%, I just did this one at 90. So I'm going to get 26 or maybe up to 30,000 BTUs with LP gas. And that's it. And then there is natural gas. Right now, you can see natural gas has a great efficiency rating right now. And again, I'm not going to get into the politics of it, and it's all because of the Marcellus Shale, the fracking, and all that stuff. I did the same chart in 2008. gas was $1.32 a therm. Now it's 90-some cents. 90 cents I used. Actually, you looked
No,
yesterday.
95 you used, the cost was 95.
95, yes, I'm sorry, that's 90%.
That's sort of.
95.
Yeah.
And if someone does their pico bill, if you're not a great consumer of gas, if you do look at your bill and do the math, it's probably less than 95. So natural gas is pretty efficient right now. People ask me about that, and I have clients who own gas distribution system or businesses, and I ask them, and they just shrug their shoulders.
Oh, that's
But
cool.
again, those are the bottom lines, and what I did was, I didn't want to, make it look great. I could use geothermal at a 50-degree ground temperature. Remember I told you the Earth is 52 degrees?
Yeah, it's here.
But the AHRI, American Heating and Refrigeration Institute, who does the ratings on HVAC equipment throughout the United States for the Department of Energy, says that they want these standards done at 32. So what they're saying is, they're showing you that your unit's been running all winter long. It's near the end of the winter. It has sucked so much energy out of the Earth that the Earth temperature is no longer
Yeah,
52.
that's what
It's down to 52 or down to
it's
32.
32.
I design my systems that they're never cooler than 35 because I don't want to use backup supplemental heat.
That's what I was wondering, when you were talking about that, I thought, can't that affect what's at the ground temperature is if you're sucking the
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
out all the
But
time?
then you're going to turn around and put it right back in again in the wintertime.
I mean in the summer.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
I see, so it does change, it does go down to something like
Yes.
35.
So side benefit
So it would
is
have to
you
work-
drive out the groundhogs.
Well, it would work harder
When
then,
you're warm
or
enough.
would it work harder towards the end of the winter
It
then?
doesn't work harder, it just runs longer.
It just runs longer, so it'd be running like all the time.
When people ask me about geothermal systems, the analogy, and this is a real, again, I'm a real pragmatic person. I tell everyone, I've been in this business since I was 14. I'll be 60 here in a couple of months. I've been doing this since I was 14, went to work with my father, went to college at Westchester University, just took classes, went to Delaware County Community College, went to U.S. Army Aviation School, was a pilot for 23 years. I loved engineering, loved physics, but my father was an Irish immigrant and he was a workaholic. He didn't really, if you wanted to go to school in our family, you had to fight. He wanted everyone to work. So I've learned how to do anything. I can build anything with my hands. If it's steel, metal, and a lot of wood too. I'm good at wood, but I love electromechanical things, whether they be high pressure, they can be steam oriented, they can be hydraulic oriented, they can be fluid oriented. I understand these devices, and as I go over the story.
Well, how close can you get to 100%? In other words, you can't always take longer if it's
absolutely,
getting to
you get
100%. How
I can
running
make every
100%
system
of the time.
100%.
I know, but running 100% of the time, if that's
No, it's not running 100% of the time. It's what you're going, like I say, if I was going to put a system in your house, and the system itself was, let's say, $15,000, $18,000 for the whole system, and the ground loop is a separate, and I always separate that as a separate investment. So whatever the house size BTU loss is, because you may have a newer house, great insulation, great windows, great insulation, great whatever, you may only need an $8,000 or $10,000 ground loop. When your house is older, little insulation, a lot of exfiltration of air, leaks a lot, you may need a $12,000, $15,000 ground loop. Then if you say, when I do the computer modeling, it may show you that your total bill to operate your house for the entire year is $1,200. Of that $1,200, 52 of it is supplemental heat. That's the amount that computer modeling said is going to need to be gotten from somewhere else. Backup electric resistive heaters or gas or oil, element in the system. Or you can put in another 180 feet of ground loop that may cost a couple $1,000s and have zero. That system, when it's 13 degrees outside, 20 degree or 20 mile an hour northwest wind, according to ASHRAE, that's the American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, Air Conditioning Engineers, that's their design parameters for the Philadelphia region.
Yeah.
You design for 13 degrees outside. That system should run 100% of the time, and you should be at 70 degrees for your thermostat, and it's not going to leave it. And it's
Okay.
not going to turn off. That's perfect steady state operating
so
condition.
you actually want it to run all the time.
Yes. Because a heat pump running under those conditions, people don't realize it. if it's pulling energy from a very cool earth and it's heating energy at only a 40-degree temperature rise across the coil, it's basically like you taking your car out onto the highway, getting like 48 miles an hour in cruise control, not touching anything. You're going to get the optimum gas mileage, so much more than you're going to get driving around your stoplights and stop signs.
I see.
Steady state running conditions for any
Or is the most
electromechanical
efficient.
piece of equipment
I
is
see.
the most
Okay,
efficient state.
alright, great,
So,
alright, I got that.
One thing on the bottom line, I can't quite see the green numbers because of over there.
94,
Is it so?
85,000 and 94,000.
So it is like the more
slightly
And
more
a
than
warmer
the
ground
natural.
temperature, you're going to get more energy out of it, yes.
than the natural gas.
Slightly.
Yeah, very, very slight.
Wow.
It's, you're,
Similar.
I mean,
that's a
comparable.
slippery slope, it's very, so again, this was, again, when I originally designed this was for a STEM class and Penn State people, so who's in the geothermal industry, that is,
That, the natural gas, that's a whole other story anyway, because we're trying to eliminate that anyways.
I'd eliminate oil and LP gas.
Well, all the fossil fuels are really,
Yeah.
a thing of the past, hopefully.
Not great education requirements in there for different, portions of the industry. That's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Oh, I have a quick question. Go ahead.
Well, so in terms of cost benefit and payback, are there some sort of capsule you could give, rules of thumb, like if you've got an oil system?
Yeah, if you have an oil system and it needs to be replaced, and it's a heating and air conditioning system, around here, I assure you, because I've done near 1,000 of them, you have an oil system needs to be replaced and the air conditioning system's old, and we're going to replace that with a geothermal system. You're going to break even with your initial investment, because obviously, let's just say the oil system, air conditioning system is going to be, $12,000, $14,000, $15,000. I have no idea what size of the house, what the alterations are going to look like. Let's say it's $12,000 to $15,000. The geothermal system is going to be 18 to 20, something like that. Plus the ground loop might be 30. So it's going to be about 15,000 more than the oil system. Oil system's going to last 10 to 15 years. The geothermal system's going to last 20, 25, even up to 30 years. So when I do deal with groups like this or homeowners like this, I say, you and I are never going to see it being replaced. We're going to be pushing a walker somewhere. And with the, against oil, say if you, it costs you $1,200 a year to heat your house with oil right now. If you did it with geothermal, it's going to be about $450 to $500. I'm going to do that math in my head. Right now, it's about 60%, 60 to 70%, depending on what you're paying on oil. Same heat, same volume. Again, no smoke and mirrors. It's just is what it is. I don't. All I do is cost of energy. In LP gas, it's even faster. That's where I live. It's when I walk into a house and I see that big green lid in the yard. Yep. Because it's silly for them not to make that decision because they're going to get payback so fast. And I've got clients out there that they had no idea when they bought their house that LP gas was not as efficient as what it is.
Now, what about rebates? Does that?
Federal government right now, as of it was reenacted, we lost the rebates in the entirety of 2017. They turned into a pumpkin December 31st, 2016. We lost it for 2017. Congress reenacted them, and then they were retroactive to 2017. So whoever bought a system in 2017 still got the 30% tax credit. Now, we in our industry are trying to get people to, yeah, it's great that you're going to get a 30% tax credit, but it's great that you do it anyway. I mean, we were selling as many systems after 2001 up until 2008 when the tax credits first came into being. We sold as many systems then as we did after because, fuel oil prices, everything was so high. And because it literally, I have a hard time with some clients when I walk in and what's in it for me? When am I going to get my money back? And I just walked through the garage, and you can imagine, and with all due respect, sometimes I walk through someone's garage and I see a high-end Range Rover in there or a Mercedes S550, and I'm like, you're looking at me for return on investment? I mean,
Yeah.
you just lost 30 grand when you drove that thing off the lot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and again, but people in my industry, as responsible as it is, as renewable as it is, I've had clients put in $130,000 landscaping and just put in a new gas furnace, oil furnace, or heat pumps because they don't want to pay for it. Why? Because you're not going to invite people over, have a cocktail party or a dinner party after you put a geothermal system in. Once in a while, at one French Norman house we did, they had a big dinner party and they brought in the production people, the editors from the magazine, and we had a dinner party, but that was different. So people don't want to. It's one of those necessities you have to have, but you don't want to go overboard with it because it's not granite countertops, it's not hardwood oak floors, it's not the pretty car in the driveway.
Well, we have a lot of, limestone stuff around here in the soil and sinkholes and stuff. So does sucking the heat out affect any of that? I mean, can it make sinkholes or anything? No?
None whatsoever.
And does it matter whether you're drilling through rock?
This is such a minimal temperature differential. It's 3 to 4 degrees. The fluid going down, coming back up is only 3 or 4 degrees different. It's either when in the summertime it's coming back up 3 or 4 degrees cooler than it went down, and in the wintertime it's coming back up 3 or 4 degrees warmer than when it went down. And when we drill down, we want to hit rock.
Oh.
Because rock is dense, it's the best medium for
Okay.
Thermal conductivity. And we want to, people all the time, oh, my yard's full of rocks, you're going to probably hit rocks, it's going to be a problem. Well, no sir, no ma'am, we want to hit rock.
rocks.
If you drill in coastal plain,
Yeah.
or the Piedmont,
Yeah.
fall line, coastal plain, that's mud drilling, that's a mess.
Yeah.
You have to drill a lot farther because the land,
Okay.
geology is not as dense, it doesn't transfer heat and energy as good as we do around here. Any questions?
Well, so I hear what you're saying about investment, return, et cetera, but it would appear that natural gas won't have the same return on investment.
Right now, if I was just a numbers cruncher, I probably would buy a geothermal system versus if I was going to go back to natural gas, if I had natural gas in my house. But someone has to, it is a gamble, because what if natural gas in 3-5 years goes back up to $1.38 a burn? Then we're 40% more efficient than natural gas again.
Well, I think everyone in this room would hope there'd be a carbon tax that
Right, exactly.
properly costed
Right.
all those fuels.
But anyway,
Let me ask you one more question, because the talk before, the session before this was on getting to 100%. Everything, including home heating. Other than electric heat, if we ever get to 100%, which I hope we do, maybe by 2050 or maybe by 2060 or whatever, what, besides electric heating, what else is there besides ground source geothermal?
well, I have my own theory for 100% heating and cooling with geothermal, and I'll give you a little bit of it, but I'm not going to give you all of it because I'm patented someday. And with solar, photovoltaic, and geothermal, I'm coming up with a type of a storage system so that as long as the sun's up, I'm going to create energy. A lot more than I need, but I'm doing it completely off the grid. And then when the sun goes down, I have it. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.